Hi, guys. Happy Sunday. Happy Sunday. Happy Sunday. We have reached another Sunday of Chit Chat Pod episode, and I am so excited about today's episode. It is our Pink Out Sunday. And so since the establishment of the podcast, we have been trying to bring awareness to Breast Cancer Awareness Month in the month of October. So this is our second year doing a Pink Out episode, and I'm excited about this episode and what you're going to get out of it. So please check in, check in, check in. Let us know where you're checking in from. And today's episode, you know, is an observance of a very important um, awareness, and it hits home to a lot of us. Maybe you've had people in your family, you've had a coworker, you've had somebody that you've known that have been hit with breast cancer, been a survivor, have lost a loved one, or in the journey of the breast cancer journey. So today, what we're going to bring to you today is stories of the journeys of survivors, thrivers, and those who are warriors in the fight of breast cancer. And so we want to give them support. We want to love upon them. We want to celebrate them because we know that, it is truly a warrior spirit to endure something such as this. And we want to make sure that, we're not only listening to their story, but we're also sympathizing because, they're here to tell it. And we're excited that they're here to tell it and share their story. So I'm excited. Pink Out is one of those things that near to dear to me because my mother was a breast cancer. She didn't survive. So she left with breast cancer. My aunt was had breast cancer as well. So my sisters and I have to make sure that we definitely get our physicals and mammograms done, routinely, and do our self checks ourselves to make sure, because now that we have that history of breast cancer in our family, we want to make sure that we're detecting things early, because early detection is key. And so we want to make sure that we're staying on top of that. And and that might be the case for some of you guys. That might be the case for our guests that's going to share their stories today. So check in, listen to these stories. I'm gonna bring them on, let them share their bio with you, who they are, where they're from, what their story, their background story is with breast cancer. We do have another person on who is not a breast cancer survivor, but she's a survivor from another cancer, endometriosis cancer, which is another female reproductive cancer that we deal with, as women. And so we're going to have her share her story along with these warriors, because she's indeed a warrior as well, because she's a survivor. So we're going to have them come on. Again, please, if you have any questions for any of the guests as they're sharing their story, post your questions in the comments. Jada will highlight your questions and we'll make sure we get your questions answered for you. Thank you guys for checking in. Continue to check in and share this live so people can get educated. They can see the stories of our guests who are sharing today, and they can make sure that they're listening in and getting educated as well. So without further ado, Jada, let's bring our guests on. Hi, ladies. I think somebody got their camera off. Is that Nisi?
Hello.
Good evening.
How is everybody doing?
And here.
Can everybody hear me?
I can hear.
Okay. All right. Awesome. Okay. So welcome, ladies. I'm so excited to have you guys on the podcast. And I thank you all for sharing your story and coming on and talking about your journey. I know it's going to help so many with what you're going to educate us on today. And if there's questions that you don't feel comfortable at answering, by all means, you don't have to answer them. So I just want to make sure you know that I don't want any of you guys to be uncomfortable with anything. But I want you guys to give a quick bio of who you are and your story about your journey. So if you guys can start with that, and then we'll jump right into our segment of asking questions. So we'll start with you, Letitia. You can't hear? Do you have earphones on, or are you plugged into like the audio of our laptop? Still nothing. Click off and log back on. That might help you. Like sign out and sign back in.
Okay,
There we go.
now I'm good.
Okay. All right. So Tisha, you can hear now. Are, are you able to hear now, Tisha? Go out and come back in.
I'm back out.
Yeah, log out and come back in.
Mhm. Okay, so I don't need this.
So while Tisha's getting her audio worked on, we'll start with you, Nisi. Give us a
Yeah.
bio. How are you?
Now I can't hear you again.
You can't hear me?
No.
Oh wow. Can all of y'all hear me? Everybody else can hear me?
I
I
can.
can hear
I
you.
can.
Oh, okay.
All right, let's try it again.
Okay.
Mhm.
Okay, so we'll start with you, Toya.
Hi, everyone. I'm Latoya Robertson. I'm reside in Warner Robins, Georgia. I was diagnosed in 2022 with breast cancer, triple positive in my left breast.
Okay. And
I am to this year makes a whole year and a half since I've been cancer free.
awesome, awesome. Thank you. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Shantae Carter.
Hi, Shantae Carter. I reside in Noonan, Georgia as of last year. I am a survivor of a molar pregnancy, actually. It's a rare form of cancer. That was in 1994. And in 1999, I was diagnosed with endometrial cancer. So I am a over 25-year survivor of cancer. So, and no longer, I guess, surviving, but thriving.
Yes, I like that.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Um,
Absolutely. So Tisha,
Yes. I'm
yes.
sorry, what all were you asking for? Because I couldn't get
A
out.
quick bio, who you are, where you from, and your background history to breast cancer.
Okay. Hi, I'm Letitia. I live in Madison, Alabama. I'm originally from Berlin, Georgia. Um, I was diagnosed with breast cancer on October 5th, 2019. So, with and stage 0 breast cancer. And next month I'll be a 6-year survivor.
Awesome, awesome. I love it. All right,
Thank
Nisi.
Hey, you guys! Finally, I got it.
you.
I'm Nisi. I live in Winter Robins, Georgia. Been here all my life. I was diagnosed with triple negative breast cancer in October of 2023. Actually, October 18th, 2023. So yesterday was my actual diagnosis date. So it brings back so many memories and cries and all the things around this time. So I have been a survivor for, let's see, chemo ended last year in April. So about a year, coming up on a year and a half or so, something like that.
Awesome.
Mhm.
Awesome. And Nisi, let our audience know, how old are you, Nisi?
I am 32.
32. Okay, great, great. So we see, that breast cancer is starting to be, coming at younger and younger ages now.
Mhm.
So before we used to always hear, oh, wait till you're like 40,
Mhm.
to get your breast, your mammogram or whatever. We can no longer wait till we're 40 now, guys,
Oh.
because people are getting diagnosed at 28 and 30 and, younger than that sometimes. And it's so scary for us to be waiting till 40 years for something, that we can kind of detect, do our self checks and kind of detect now and
Mhm.
start early. I think, as soon as you have a menstrual cycle, that you should be checking periodically, learn your body, know your body kind of thing.
Mhm.
Um, uh, and speaking of that, what was, how did you find out that you initially had it? Was it a self-diagnose? Did you do a self check, or was it on a routine exam? I'm gonna ask you, Tisha, how was your, when you discovered?
So mine was through a routine mammogram exam. I started my mammograms. I had been doing my mammograms for years, but initially it was seen in something was seen in one of my mammograms when I was around 41, and the doctor wanted to check both breasts at not one, yes, one of my mammograms for my left breast, but the doctor wanted to check that breast for twice a year, whereas the other breast just once. And by the end of that 2-year period, when she was going to stop, that's when she saw a really active form in my right breast. And so at that mammogram session, she pulled me to the back room and told me, yeah, they saw calcium deposits. The formation, everybody has calcium deposits in their body, but the formation of the way mine formed inside my milk ducts is alerted her. And on that screening, that's when she told me she believed I had breast cancer, and
Mm.
wanted to have me go in to do a biopsy to confirm what she saw. And October 5th, 2019, she called me and informed me that indeed I had breast cancer.
Oh wow, wow! And look how we have a few of you guys, got discovery in October in the month of the breast cancer awareness. So yeah, let me ask you this: do you have a family history of it in your family, or?
And and yes, my sister, one of my sisters actually had been diagnosed with breast cancer. My mom passed away of cervical cancer, and because of that history, probably 2 years before before they even started seeing the formation, or the what she thought was when I was like 41, probably 39 or 38, they did a BRAC test on me. And a BRAC test is supposed to help you find out if you do have that history, and maybe, you can make decisions then if you want to take action to remove breasts or whatever you want to do, or be on the lookout. But that BRAC test revealed negative, that I didn't have any of the gene, or that it would happened to me. And again, like I say, that was around 38 years old. But my back it up, my x-ray technician, she did do a mammogram. My first mammogram was done at 35. She wanted to have a base mammogram because, like you stated, they say we start at 40 with our
Mhm.
mammograms. But my x-ray technician, she said she wanted to start at 35 just to have a base. And then after the one at 35, then she started testing me at having mammograms at 40. And then again, at, like I said, 43 is when I was diagnosed with breast cancer.
Oh wow, wow. So what about you, Nisi? How was your discovery? Was it on a routine exam? Was it a self discovery?
Yeah, I found it myself. I literally was in my living room. This was like mid-September. And I was just watching the movie. I was like, you know what? Let me just see, make sure everything's good. So I felt the lump and I was like, am I tripping? Am I imagining things? Went to bed, woke up, and I was like, it's still there, and it didn't move. So that's what concerned me. The lump didn't move. They always tell you, don't check around your cycle, or because your breast tissue always changes around your cycle. So I'm like, am
Mhm.
I coming off my cycle? Like I'm trying to, just calculate. But because of that concern, it does run in my family. Not my immediate family, but I've had cousins and aunts to be diagnosed with
Mhm.
breast cancer and having to go through that whole journey. I was like, you know what? Let me just make a doctor's appointment just in case. So had my gynecologist to check, and she felt it. And then from there, of course, we did the mammogram, ultrasound. They did a biopsy. So the day after the biopsy is when they called me and told me to come in and deliver the news then.
Oh, wow.
So
Okay.
yeah, of course, with me, because no one in my immediate family has it or had it. I didn't start getting mammograms. Of course, they're not going to start testing me because they're like, you don't really have a reason for it. So I'm starting
Right.
myself. But then who knew at 30, that
Right.
would be the case. But I've met women that were, 23, 24 diagnosed. So like you said, age, it doesn't discriminate at all.
It doesn't. It doesn't. And to put another statistics out there, breast cancer is not just diagnosed with women. Men get breast cancer too.
Hmm.
And so,
Yeah.
we have, a percentage of men, throughout, the year that are diagnosed, periodically with breast cancer. So men, if you're listening, do some self checks too.
Yeah.
Don't wait on yourself to, something to happen for you to get diagnosed or whatever, but do some checks too. If there's something that don't feel right in those pictorials,
Yeah.
go get that check, so that way you make sure that early detection is key, that you make sure that you're good. I'd rather be over concerned and not be concerned at all. So, but Toria, so how was your discovery?
I want to say back in September of 2022, when the kids were playing kickball in the backyard. And so my son kicked the ball, and the ball caught me in my chest. So I was like, it'll go away. It's nothing but a little bruise or whatever. So come October, it was still there. I was like, all right, it's just a bruise from a kickball. Cause like it was like in the September, beginning of October. So come November, it was still there. So my best friend like, girl, you need to go get checked or whatever. So I called my old BGYN and got an appointment. Said, Miss Robertson, we need to get you to get a mammogram ASAP. So I did the mammogram. She was like, the mammogram technician, she was like, Ms. Robertson, you need a biopsy like soon as possible. So I got the biopsy done December 6th. December 9th, I found I was stage 3 triple positive.
Mm,
Wow.
wow.
Just because I
So,
got kicked in because the ball hit me in my chest. And that's how I found out.
so because hearing that, tell me what was your reaction?
I didn't have any symptoms or anything or nothing. I was like, my first reaction was what why, I was what 37, by 38, 2 weeks before my 38th birthday is when I found out. And I was like, how am I gonna tell my kids that their mom have breast cancer or cancer or anything? So my best friend, look, I thank God for her. She was like, I'm gonna get the kids. I got the kids. So the same day I found out was well, on a Friday, December 9th. She said, tell the kids we go over dinner. But we was like, nah, we gonna do it at the house. So we did it at the house in the living room, and my kids were like just stunned. And my initial shock was, I'm too young to have breast cancer.
Yeah. But you know what? I think when people hear it, they just it alarms so many people. But because research has been so advanced now that which we say early detection is vital. But because research is so advanced now, it's not a death sentence to everybody. So learning how to change your lifestyle and create different um, things to in preventive measures kind of help. So we're going to touch bases on that, because I know a lot of that probably was key in your journey, going through your journey. So I want some of you to share some of that as well. But I want to ask Shantae, when you got your discovery, how was your initial reaction? Was it how did you get that discovery? Because that's more of the reproductive organs, so and reproductive system. So how did you find out?
I was young. I was 22. So
Mm.
there were signs before. So with a molar pregnancy, it's basically tumors that develop from the placental tissue.
Mm-hmm.
And so I just found out I was early, a bride, teenage bride, but I just found out that I was pregnant. But I had a discomfort and heavy spotting. So I did go to the emergency room, and they did a vaginal ultrasound, and there they discovered that the pregnancy was abnormal. So I went into the emergency surgery and right away had to have a DNC, followed by chemotherapy, and I was followed by a GYN oncologist. But in my case, it started early. Um, I
Wow.
I got my cycle early, probably I think around the age of 10. Heavy cycles, painful cycles. So there were signs and symptoms at an early age. Um, Bleeding. I remember age 13, 14 cycles so heavy that I would saturate a super tampon, a super maxi pad within 15 to 20 minutes.
Oh wow.
Yeah. So, and the key to knowing your family history as well. I'm being
Yeah.
so young. Who thinks 22 that you would have a rare form of cancer that usually hit women in their 50s and 60s? And in this case, third world countries with this type of cancer.
Right.
Um, so there was a study, the extensive study. I was treated at Walter Reed Medical Center. Um, but I think the key is knowing your history. Both maternal and paternal had a history of uterine cancer. The heavy cycles were abnormal. The doctors were not treating it. Take the ibuprofen, and that's it. So especially for Black women, we complain and our pain, we can bear it, right? Medical technology back then, as far as studying it, especially being so young, wasn't as advanced right now as it is now. So right now, that there's all type of studies, there are signs and symptoms to look for. But I would just say, and I was severely anemic because I was losing so much blood every
Oh
month.
wow.
So there
Yeah.
were signs and symptoms, but yeah, again, not having the proper follow up by my primary care physician. Being so young, they really didn't know what it was. So I would just tell young women, if you're seeing those signs, you're having those abnormal periods, you're having the heavy cramping, the heavy bleeding, anemia. That was the number one indicator that something was wrong. I was malnourished as well. I thought that being so small was healthy, but I was so unhealthy. So proper diet and proper exercise was key. But so that was in '94, again at the age of 22. Um, the type of cancer I had, the molar pregnancy, is closely related to brain cancer, so it could have turned into brain cancer.
Mm.
But 5 years, 6 years later, the endometrial cancer diagnosis, and I had again a vaginal ultrasound and an endometrial biopsy. I wanted to try to get pregnant, but because of my history, they wanted to make sure that everything was okay. But with that endometrial biopsy, they did find a growth, another tumor. So it was stage one. So I was blessed that they caught it so early. But again, I had been, showing signs, the intermittent bleeding between cycles, the heavy cycles, the pain, painful intercourse. So again, the signs and symptoms there, but no one really followed up on those things. I had a primary care going for my annual pap smears, but again, not being very aggressive and assertive with my treatment, even though I had a history. With that treatment, I had to undergo a total hysterectomy. So
Oh
I
wow.
began surgical menopause at the age of 29.
Oh wow.
So I was just, it was just going to the doctors. I went for my yearly, but those signs and symptoms. So just be an advocate, push the doctors. Where
Hmm.
I think you, Shan, stated that with those symptoms, and we're getting diagnosed early on in our 20s and 30s. Again, I was 22 and 29 with
Yeah.
rare forms of cancer. So early detection is key, following up. But if there's something wrong, being an advocate, really
Absolutely.
being assertive with your care.
Absolutely,
Hmm.
absolutely. So, you brought up a point by being educated about what you know that your family history, medical
Hmm.
history. Um, was there anything that you guys got educated on during the process of your journey that you did not know that that your family medical history took part in your diagnosis? Did any of you
Well,
guys?
actually,
Ba- oh, go ahead.
my great aunt had a breast cancer, and when I got my breakout test done, I had no signs of breast cancer on my chart. The only thing I had was elevated colon. We got my colonoscopy done, it was negative. So I don't know
Mhm.
where this come from.
Mm.
Mm. Okay.
And as I was stated previously, again, my mom had passed away of cervical cancer in 2002, and then I had another sister that had breast cancer a couple years before me. But again, I had taken the BRAC test, and that didn't reveal that I was could possibly get it. So, but another thing I want to note to any women and men that may be listening is. I understand mammograms hurt and they can be painful, but nothing's more painful than going through this process of breast cancer. And so it's way more painful than 10 minutes of your time, one time a year. But my situation, I had dense breasts. So that's another thing that women that may be thinking, oh, I could just do my self checks. I don't have to do mammograms. Well, if you have the dense breasts, you will not feel the lumps, most likely. And I
Mhm.
never felt lumps, but my doctor described them. They were lumps, but I never felt them because of how dense my breasts are. So mammogram is there for a reason, to catch things like that in situations when you have the dense breasts, or in situations where you might not feel it, or like for me, it was also contained in my milk ducts. So therefore they were able to catch it in time, and I was stage 0 before it got outside of my milk ducts, and before it entered the rest of my body. So mammograms are very, very important.
Yeah, and yeah, that's yeah, those are vital because when you said dense, because I remember when I had a breast reduction years ago, and that's what sparked me getting my mammograms early. After my breast reduction, it was one of the things that they wanted me to start doing, is get mammograms, because you become a statistic, because now you have altered, a certain part of your body. And I started getting my mammograms early, which I'm thankful that I was getting them early, because I would have had to wait till I was 40, because most doctors would tell you that, we'll schedule that when you turn 40 kind of thing. And so, but because I had that breast reduction procedure, I was able to start getting mine early in my 20s, yearly, because of that surgery that I had. So yeah, that's important. So Nisi, did you have any history or anything that you got educated on about your family medical history during your journey?
Not during the journey, but prior to that, I just knew that I had two aunts that, well, one aunt survived. My aunt Jewel, a member of fellowship, uh,
Mm-hmm.
breast cancer. I think she's been a probably 40 survivor. Had
Awesome.
another aunt that passed away. I want to say in '93. The year
Mm-hmm.
the year that I was born, she passed away. So I don't think I ever had a chance to meet her. But she had a lump, and it got out of control too. So there were some cousins that had it, kind of the first cousin line. And the craziest part, I always felt like it would have been me. It's just subconsciously I knew that it was going to be me, because I'm like, if my first cousins have it, if my sister don't have it, then it's probably is going to fall in my hands, and it did. And it's like, did you speak this over yourself? Is no, but just the pattern that I was seeing in the family is like, it's going to be one of my mom's kids, and just so happened that it picked me. But I think that's what made me check, even at a young age. It's something that you don't think you have to worry about in your 30s.
Mm-hmm.
Turning 30 and about to just live my life and be in these streets, but no, absolutely not. You finna sit down. So it's life changing. to be so young and diagnosed, but I'm grateful for the journey and able to share it and hopefully inspire someone else. Like, hey, it doesn't matter what age you are. I need you to check yourself. If
Right.
there's a concern, even you can push for a mammogram. If your doctor says no, find another doctor. Don't let these doctors play in your face. Like your health has to be your number one priority, and you have to advocate for yourself. Luckily,
Mm-hmm.
I didn't get any pushback, but I've heard people get so much pushback on, oh, you're too young. There's nothing to worry about. Absolutely not. If you're worried, women, we have this intuition, and it's God's voice. If you
Mm-hmm.
feel like something's wrong, something's wrong.
Right.
So check yourself, get your mammograms. You can get a baseline mammogram. You can push for that, especially if it runs in your family. Definitely get it done, and a genetic test. They talk about that a lot too. I had a genetic test done, and I was negative for the BRCA gene. And if I was positive, they would have pushed for me to have a double mastectomy. I felt like I was okay with not having a mastectomy. I was like, I'm trusting God in this. Like, leave him alone. We just gonna make sure that lump is gone and go on about our day. But luckily, I was negative for that.
Okay. Now, Tisha, did you have it? You had a double mastectomy, correct?
That is correct. Because of I well, when I was diagnosed, there was a whole panel of doctors that got together to discuss my case,
Mm-hmm.
and I guess mainly because I was stage 0 and it was contained in my milk ducts at the time. But due to me having to get that first biopsy to determine if it was indeed cancer, um, and then moving forward, they gave me my options, of course, lumpectomy, because at that time, the active breast was my right one. Um, but I just went home and prayed about it, took some time, and I thought, well, a couple years prior, they saw something in my left breast. Sister had breast cancer, mom had cervical cancer, although the BRAC test, supposedly ruled things out. But I went ahead and made the decision to, yes, to have a bilateral mastectomy. So that was what drove my process, to basically have breast cancer for 30 days, is the way I say it. I was diagnosed October 5th, 2019. I had surgery, November 4th, 2019. And after that surgery, that bilateral mastectomy, I was considered cancer free. And with that surgery, I didn't have no chemo, no radiation, no medication, no special diet. So by the grace of God, um, removing my breast, and to this day, as of this moment, I'm still cancer free. So I give all the glory to God.
Awesome. So, making that decision, do you still have to get the yearly checkups
I
still?
have to get twice a year. I have to
Like,
get a physical checkup, so they have to do it manually with their hand.
okay,
And
okay,
of course, I do as well, but twice a year I have to go to the doctor to get it manually done.
okay, okay. How about you, Toya?
I
Because
have to
I
go
know you
once a
had
year.
last time you was on the podcast, you was getting ready for a surgery.
Yeah, I was getting ready for my ooh, which one was that? I was getting ready to get my breast removed that last time.
Mm-hmm.
But I have to go once a year to make sure everything's still good.
Okay. So that so you did have that surgery done.
Yes, I had double mastectomy.
Okay. And you made that decision, based off of what?
I had because I had the cancer that would come back. So they was my recommendation was just go ahead and get both of them taken off. There was that because I won't have anything happen, anything else happen.
Okay. Okay. So, Shantae, I'm gonna ask you this because I know that you are pretty much well educated on yours, and yours was, for some years ago, but you're
Mhm.
still a big advocate for making sure people are educated on um, the cancer that you experience. How important is, if is people going out there again doing research? Are they checking? Do they need to make sure that they have more than just a yearly checkup now for their OBGYNs? Like, what are some important educational factors that you think will be important for somebody in your situation, um, for your the type of cancers that you dealt with?
Right. I would just say, especially as soon as possible, especially for young ladies that starting their cycles early because they don't know their bodies. So I just think it's extremely important for mothers, fathers, parents to just be in tune with their children's health. Even
Mm-hmm.
at a young age, my son, we took him, to be seen to, talk about his care. If there was any type of vaccinations that they can get as early, as teenagers. Also, to those annual pap smears as soon as possible, but to just don't take it to chance to feel that it's something that's going to happen when they're older. That to start taking those pap smears very serious. Ask
Right.
for those
Right.
vaginal ultrasounds as well.
Yeah.
And also to know your family history, that is the most important part of it all. I was a little late in research, but knowing your maternal health, I know that there are some people that may not even know certain aspects of their family, their paternal. I was raised by my stepdad, so my biological family, I really didn't know, and it was the biological family that had the history of of the uterine cancer. So just knowing your family history, just as those teen years, to just pay attention if those cycles are heavy, if there is a just abnormal, the pain level, so those heavy cramping. So that's pretty much it. Just paying attention to your body, those preventive measures, and knowing your family history is
Okay.
key.
Okay.
And but I can also, now that we're speaking on this, I told you that I had a hysterectomy at the age of 29. No one spoke to me about freezing eggs. No one talked to me about surrogacy. So there are those things too. I did not give birth biologically. I adopted my son. So there were things that I could have done also to, save those eggs and or surrogacy. So no one spoke to me about those things as well. So a hysterectomy doesn't have to be an end to, not being able to have a biological child as well. So just educating yourself on those alternative ways as well, to be able to bring life as well. So.
And I'm glad you brought that up because I
Mhm.
was gonna that was gonna be one of my questions. Um, with chemo, is there any risk at, because I know there's young women who are diagnosed at young ages. Are
Mhm.
there any risk at women getting pregnant after receiving or going through bouts of chemo?
I'll let the other ladies answer, but yes, in '94 when I was diagnosed, I knew that there was risk as well with the infertility as well.
Okay.
Definitely a risk. They moved pretty quick with me. My oncologist did talk to me about freezing my eggs, but when I say it was like you're gonna have to go to Atlanta for a few weeks, I'm like, I start chemo next week. How am I gonna do that? But he didn't. Also, there are other options. I was actually on a shot called Zoladex, that shut my ovaries down while I was going through chemo. So I didn't have a cycle from November of 2023. My last shot was in September of last year. I was still going through my immunotherapy. And so it took about 6, 7 months for my cycle to actually come back. I don't know what that means. I don't know if I'm still able to conceive. I would hope so. But it, I hate that they don't talk to you about all of your options during that time. It's like, we need to do X, Y, Z. It's like, okay, what else can I do if that's not what I'm within my means?
And look, we're speaking that right now. You are able to receive, conceive. So if
Amen.
that's a desire of yours, you will be able to conceive. We
Amen.
connect that right now and speak that right now.
Having some
So
little nieces running around.
yeah.
But it's a lot to take in. I've actually met someone that they started her treatment, didn't tell her anything about, the damage that it can do on her ovaries, and she was not able to have children. She did, I believe, about 3 rounds of chemo.
Ooh.
Got her ovaries at the time, and it was depressing for her. because she was, in a marriage. They were trying to already have children, so she wasn't able to have children. Um, but there are resources. A lot of people don't know that insurance does not. My insurance, I'll say, did not pay for the freezing of the eggs. If I had infertility issues, then of course they would have, but they wouldn't do it as a preventative measure for me. So I was like, you know what, I'm gonna trust God in this shot, and we're gonna keep on rolling. So it's yeah, it's scary.
Oh, I can imagine, because you're talking about something that's altering,
Yeah.
your life pretty much. And
Hmm.
so, and if that's a true desire of yours, that's a big difference. And you want to make sure that, you still have those options, that you're not totally left without that option. So that's why I was kind of curious about it, because I wasn't sure. But when we're talking about these type things, like being able to conceive, those things, when you get diagnosed with something like this, a whirlwind of emotions happen. You go through, an emotional thing, it's a spiritual thing. you know Tell us, how was you guys journey through all of this, from the time you was diagnosed, from the moment of discovery, and through your journey. How were your emotions, and how did you guys cope through all the different emotions, and what did you learn the most out of that about yourself?
I'll go first. For me, ooh, the night I got my diagnosis, because I thought she wasn't going to call that day, because it was the end of the day. But she ended up calling about 6 o'clock that night.
Mm-hmm.
And when the doctor gave me the news, all I remember saying is, "But my boys." And then I just started crying, and I don't remember nothing else she said. Thank God I was by myself in a way. I thank God in a way. I'm glad my kids were there at the moment. I didn't want to be in that state to tell them. And so I took a couple of days to kind of process things, and um, just pray to God, have some time with God. And then my oldest son was living in Birmingham at the time, which was like an hour and a half from where I lived. So my oldest son was around 22. My youngest son was 17. And so my youngest son happened to have fall break that following week. So on that Monday, I told him, let's drive to Birmingham and have dinner with your brother. And so I got there and had dinner with them, and then told them after dinner. And they knew, like in our family, other extended family, cancer just always seemed to be in death. And so just kind of, I was going through so many emotions, not just for myself, but what my boys may be thinking.
Mm-hmm.
And then to tell my family, and then what they may were they thinking, or how they're feeling. So it's like you're already carrying your journey, but you're thinking about your family as well. So my biggest thing was I leaned on God, and I remained prayed up. I got in several Facebook groups. People with history gave recommendations, uh, from different things to read or listen to or meditate on. One of my biggest things for myself that I did is reading in the Bible. I started reading a chapter a night, and everywhere that Jesus healed somebody, no matter what their healing was for, I placed my name with that healing,
Mm,
and
love that.
so that carried me through that journey. But just so many
Mm-hmm.
different, and it doesn't end once you're free. Even still now, I went through therapy for just the mental things, and going through you losing a body part, and like the doctor said, just like anybody that's amputated from the arm or whatever, like I use the term gutted. One of my other sisters didn't like me using it, but gutted out the breast, there's nothing there, nothing but bags in there now, absolutely nothing. And the scars and the healing process, the whole difference. Like, I was a push-up queen in the military. I can't do push-ups anymore, I can't do pull-ups. things like that. So it still messes with my mental. These implants, I've had several reconstructive surgeries and looking at doing a possible another one next year because these implants, they flip. I didn't have the option of taking my body fat or and putting it there in my breast. So it's a daily journey that people may not understand, and although me, I live with it, the actual disease, I guess, for knowingly 30 days, but but I still live with the aftermath and different things for the rest of my life. So just one day at a time.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing that. What about you, Toya? You're muted.
For me, it was a roller coaster because I was young with 4 kids, and at the time, me and my significant other was separated at the time, and I was like, "How am I going to tell this man that I'm, diagnosed with breast cancer?" So once I got, once I found out and got calmed down and everything, I called him and I was like, "Look, hey, I can tell you something." So I told him, and once I told him, it's like our relationship just got stronger because we were separated at the time. And so, with me, after I had my first surgery and they took my breast because as a woman, that was my spot. I'm sorry, y'all, but that was my spot. So when they took, I was like, what am I going to do to please my, please my mate or whatever? And mom was like, girl, you'll be fine. Like, mama, no, I won't. So that really brought me a whole for a long time, not me having nipples or everything. So as far as coping, it took me a long time to realize that, I'm not gonna be the same anymore. And I had the first surgery I had was my experiments put in. One of my well, which fast forward, my right expander messed up twice. So I had to have three different surgeries in order for my right expander to work again. So
Oh,
they finally did the expander and like we're not gonna do anything right now. We're just gonna leave it as is. So they took the expander out of my right breast and my left breast was fine. It was just my right breast was acting crazy for some reason. So they finally got it where it would do right. And then I had my reconstruction surgery back in September this year and everything's going good so far.
mm,
My kids, they was supportive, especially my oldest daughter, Brianna. She was there through chemo, everything, the whole 9 yards. And I'm grateful for her because that's my mini me. She felt my pain and she was there right beside my side. Now my oldest ones, the boys was like, Mama, Mama, you gonna be okay. You know how boys are.
yeah,
And my baby girl, she was like, she didn't have no feeling, but she was okay, but she went okay. But
yeah.
now, as of today, I look like I'm stronger, and I can tell my testimony because I'm strong because of what happened.
Awesome. Awesome. Love it. Nisi?
So I feel like I'm gonna sum up everything that everybody else said. It's definitely a roller coaster. I think once I found the lump, it just sat with me because I'm like, yeah, that sounds about right. Prior to me even finding my lump, I took like a little solo trip. I just went to Savannah up the road. I'm familiar with the roads, that's like my go-to place. That was my first time ever going outside of the 478 by myself. But when I came back, my mom was like, you went by yourself. I was like, I did. But even during that time, I felt like God wanted me to feel His presence, so He knew that He was there while I was in going through everything.
That commune time.
Yes, it's wild to me. It was
Hmm.
like even just sitting there. I went on the beach and I was like, God is about to do something. And I don't know if it's good or bad. And so yeah, it's from September to October, even just getting my port in, it was like, wow, this is really happening. And I feel like it was more of a spiritual journey than anything. Uh,
Mm,
you have to trust God in a different way. In a
mm.
different like we trust God in our finances, we trust God, to provide. But when it comes to your health, especially when you're not a sickly person outside of like a common cold or allergies, it's like, all right, God, I got something that has the power to take me out of here if we didn't take action at the time that we did. So you can't tell me what God can't do. You
Ooh,
can't tell me that God is not a healer. can't tell me that God will not provide, because even during that whole entire time, there was no lack. There was
Oh
no
my goodness.
abundance. There were no checks that were short. And so I was well taken care of. Well
Mm.
taken care of. So um today, even today, well taken care of. There's still a lot of things that people think that once you're done with your treatment, your surgery, that oh, you're fine, you're good. Now you got the aftermath of these things. Um I encourage anybody, when you're going through things, this journey, or your diagnosis, go to therapy. Not
Yeah.
everybody understands what you're going through. Um,
Mhm.
find the community as well. I have met some amazing breast cancer survivors, going to summits and brunches and things. Like, find your community to lean on them, because they may not have the exact journey, but they know what you're going through. So it's I feel like I was supposed to get it so that I can tell my testimony as well, but to of course make me stronger in that. I feel like I don't know, I feel so grown womanish now. It's crazy. Okay.
I know. Look, Nisi was one of my dance babies. When I taught dance at church, and was over the dance ministry, so she was one of my dance babies when she was back in like middle school and high school.
Yeah.
And so, so when I found out she had it, it just broke my heart. And I was just like, oh my God, my baby, like I was away. I wasn't even living in Georgia at the time. So it bothered me. I couldn't be there. So I just started, I just bought all this stuff and
Yeah.
boxed it up, and I sent her stuff. I was like, wherever I feel like she needed a blanket, some comfort, some whatever. And I was just like, I can't be there, but, I don't prayed over this stuff. My
Yeah.
love and my prayers are there. But when I found that out, I was just, oh, that's one of my babies.
Yeah.
So, but you definitely done grew up, and you definitely have gotten stronger through it. I'm seeing a totally different person, and your spiritual growth is, it's significant. You can see it. You definitely can see it. So, Shantae.
Oh my, faith, faith, and faith. I'm relocated to Maryland in '91, and the first thing my husband and I did was find a church home, and we were under the Pastor Stan Telton, who's a Jewish, born again for Christ and on fire. And when I tell you that church family prayed for me, they were in and out of the hospital. The doctors thought that we were crazy, religious fanatics, but it was that prayer, the faith, supernatural, power that I got through it in '94. Having a supportive spouse, a praying mother got me through it. 99, '97, I lost a baby, adopted in '98, another cancer diagnosis in '99. It was that faith walk, knowing that I know that God is still in control. And I get emotional now because I knew that things happen for a reason. It was meant for me to adopt. But I had an infant and I was going through cancer. So because of him, I made it through in '99, with the chemo and the hysterectomy, but it's just being a faith walker, just knowing that God is in control, that He is a healer. He was indeed my healer, but I had a strong church connection, church family, and
Yeah.
warriors just throughout the world that were united in prayer. So that was covering me. So that's
It's
it.
always it's always important who you connected to.
Mm-hmm.
We talk about having a village, and I knew Toya from football. Our sons played football on travel football together. So, we had that connection with the football moms, but it's always, good to have those connections, because when you have those connections and that village and that support behind you, you're being pushed and prayed and covered on days when you don't even feel like getting up out of bed. And so, that's important. And that's why I tell people all the time, make sure your circle is legit. You got some people, make sure you got some people in your circle who can intercede, or intercessors, that can get a prayer up to heaven or whatever. And it's good to have other kind of support in your circle, but you got to have them intercessors too. That's going to be, that's going to help you to increase your faith. That's going to pray you through some things and help you build your spiritual strength up during this time, because we can get this easily distracted, because we're going through so much, and sometimes it don't look like what it need to look like, and without seeing it through those spiritual eyes, and if we see it through our carnal eyes, a lot of us can be taken out. And so and it's because of that faith and that spiritual walk and that spiritual grounding that you guys had during that journey that kind of made you be here on this stage right now sharing your story, and I'm so thankful for that. So as we get ready and wrap up, I wanted to ask you guys, what would be some advice that you would give somebody who, I know we were going to have somebody on here who's actually currently in their journey, and so somebody who's currently in their journey and might be going through these different things that y'all just talked about, the different emotions from the time that they got diagnosed, and they just recently got diagnosed too. So, what is some advice that you can give to her and those people who are currently in that journey, knowing that you guys are sitting here, sharing your testimony? What are some things that you can say that truly pulled you through some things and some days of your journey?
I would recommend to speak it faith, speak it to positivity, and surround yourself and encourage others to not to speak negative in that connotation. Don't bring the negative in it, and have that strong faith in God. That you got to start there. Without there, you just you won't really make it through this journey in a positive light. So I say just start with God and have strong faith and let that lead you.
Okay. What about
Tisha,
you, Toya?
I, I'll say, get you a great support system, someone who's going to be there through thick and thin, who's going to be there with through the beginning and to the end. Also, get you somebody you can rely on to go to treatment with you and everything. Somebody just to sit there with you because there's a long process to chemo. Um, Another thing is be positive, stay positive, no matter what you do, to stay positive because it's hard to stay positive, but you gotta keep positivity at all times because this journey is all by yourself.
Mhm.
Okay. Shantae?
with faith, but still, I relied on therapy. Therapy was good. You're going to go through those emotions.
Mhm.
Letitia mentioned losing body parts. I mean, I had a complete hysterectomy, so that grief of that loss. So therapy was key as well.
Yeah. Yeah, therapy is key because it's going to help you understand some of those, process those emotions,
Hmm.
help you get through those days. Because I know, some days you're probably going to be one way, and the next day you might be, 100 on the next, another day. But, certain days, your emotions might change, and having therapy can help you kind of generate going through that process of those emotions. So I would definitely say therapy probably would be a bonus during
Mhm.
this process. So, Nisi.
Um, just something different. Allow yourself to be selfish. This is a time where you're not going to be 100%, 100% of the time. So allow yourself to take care of you. I'm such a giver and a pleaser, and I want to make sure everybody around me is good. But during that time, I was like, you know what, I don't feel like doing this, or, I wanted to focus on me during that time instead of everyone else. And not feel bad about it. That's the thing. No, don't feel bad about it. They have to understand, like, I'm going through a lot. It's a lot in every way. So you're allowed to be selfish during this time. Um, like everyone else said, it matters who is around you. I was lucky enough to have a really good village. God, I couldn't ask for any better people, from family and friends, church family, even my coworkers, everyone that I work with, from top to bottom, were amazing. So I didn't have to worry about that. They spoke life into me. They prayed over me, asked if I needed anything. Like, it was just it was amazing. But positivity is a lot that can alter, your outcome. So just saying, prayed up,
Uh,
rest,
yes.
take
Yes.
three.
Look, prayer changes things. Prayer definitely changes things. So we're going to end with this, but I want to know, how do you guys celebrate your survivorship? Like, what are some things did you guys do to celebrate your survivorship?
I actually just took a
Well,
cruise.
Go ahead.
excuse me.
Oh yeah, I took a cruise in August. That was like my first celebration. I plan to do something every year, or even on specific dates. I claim August 12th as my cancer free date. That was the day that I finished chemo. They did a lumpectomy, but nothing was there. So the day I finished chemo, that's what I claim. So on that day, I always want to treat myself, and even if it's a small way, just to say, hey, you know what, you made it.
Awesome. Awesome. I love it.
For me, on my 5 year journey, 5 year cancer free, I did a big photo shoot. So I said I'll do that probably every 5 years. But other than that, I definitely take myself out to dinner. Might even get myself a celebratory cake. But yeah, I just definitely do my selfie dates, what I call it, and enjoy and celebrate me. If other people join, they join. But if not, I'm definitely one to remember and celebrate and thanking God for where I'm at today.
Yes. Celebrate life. I love it. Toya?
I did a big girl purchase back in February, brought a new car, 2024.
Okay.
So that was
Awesome.
my journey of getting over everything, something to, that excuse me, that was my credit to myself for overcoming so much that I went through breast cancer. So I was like, I ain't never had a brand new car off the lot. Let me go do this. So that's what I did. Bought a brand new car off the lot.
Okay. Awesome. What a present.
Yes.
Shantae?
5 year post cancer, I ran a marathon. So
Oh, I
yeah,
love it.
so that was fulfilling. I'll never do it again.
Yes, I
And then
love
those
that.
breast cancer, the 5Ks runs and St. Jude marathons as well. So I believe in giving back to charity and supporting other people, other survivors. So
Yes. Awesome. Awesome.
Awesome.
Look, I am so appreciative you ladies joining us today and sharing your journey. I I hope there's someone who is listening today, grab some things that they can grab, if they're going through a current journey now, or someone who has survived and they're still, processing some of the emotions and some of the things, or even listening to some of the survivorship celebratory things that you guys do. So, because it's important to celebrate life. Not everybody gets to be on this stage and share their story, because everybody's not here to share their story. There's others who have left before us that don't get to share their story. So you guys are, actually sharing your story, but you're also sharing a story for somebody else who's not here to share the story. So we want to thank you guys for that. In doing so, make sure that Jada gets your contact information. We want to treat you guys to a lunch. We'll send you guys a lunch gift card for being our guests on the show
Oh,
today.
nice.
Just a little small something from Chit Chat Podcast, but definitely want to celebrate you guys for being warriors, and continue to thrive through life, letting your light shine, telling your testimonies, letting people know, that they too can be a warrior. They can conquer this. It's not a death sentence. You guys have survived it. You're thriving. You're not only surviving, but you're thriving. And Tisha, I seen your pictures from your photo shoot. Girl, I was like, oh my God. I loved it. I was hoping that you was going to share them on here. That's why I was like, if y'all want to share any
Oh, you
pictures,
should. I didn't know.
I was
I
like, if
would
y'all
have.
want
I'm
to share
sorry.
anything. But yeah, I love those pictures. It was just such a brave thing when I
Mhm.
seen them, and I'm getting choked up talking about it. It was such a brave thing. And by you doing that, you're setting so many women free. And
Thank you.
so, if people seeing you posting those or whatever, even if they have not experienced this journey, they can still see how brave that was for you to do. And so my hat is totally off for you for doing that, because you're going to definitely help somebody with them seeing that photo shoot. So,
Thank you.
but lady, that concludes our episode for today, our Pink Out episode. Thank you guys again so much. We appreciate you guys. We appreciate your story. Don't ever stop telling your story, because I'm telling you, as women, we have to help each other and stay connected so we can support each other, motivate, encourage each other. Um, I said there's no hood like the motherhood or the womanhood, and I totally mean that, because we're forced to be reckoned with when we're united and supported, as together. So you guys doing this just helps, like, signifies that. So thank you again. Next week is our final week for celebrating Chit Chat Podcast anniversary. So Chit Chat Podcast turns 2. So we didn't get a chance to do merchandise giveaway today, because I don't want to go over too much. But I do want to give a birthday shout out to my oldest sister, who turning 60 today. And so she's the oldest of my mom's clan. And she is 60 years old today. She's the feistiest one too. So so my oldest sister, if y'all from my hometown, y'all probably know her. We call her Duke, but that's Deborah, my mom's oldest daughter. She turned a big 60 today. So next week I'll get to see her and spend some time with her when I head home. But yes, that's a younger picture of her. But she gonna kill me when she see these pictures. But yeah, so I just want to celebrate her, because 60 is a big milestone, and and let her know that I love her, I appreciate her, and that's our family chef in the house. She does all the cooking. If we have a party or an event, she's gonna be the one to do the cooking for us. So but I do love her, and I hope she's enjoying her birthday. So my mom again had breast cancer, and my aunt. So I am a very big advocate of breast cancer awareness, making sure people are getting their checks and all those kind of things going on. So I'm going to make sure that my daughter is getting hers, and she's checking herself too as well. She is a PCOS, got diagnosed with PCOS. So we're going to make sure that she's very aware of her body, and how she can check herself for these, signs and things. But thank you, ladies. If there's not anything else, do anybody have any last minute remarks?
Thank you very much for having us on the show.
Oh, no problem. Thank you guys again for being on here. So without further ado, we be back on next week. Next week is our final week for celebrating Chit Chat Podcast. And so continue to share the podcast information, share, like, subscribe. Those who have shared the podcast information and the shows and topics, get a chance to win a big screen TV, at the end of next week. So keep sharing, guys, inviting people to follow us, and like and subscribe. So that's what we're asking. This is our year to grow. So that's what we're looking to do. And we'll also have the Love Doctor on next week. He will be here next week talking about love after domestic violence. So, how to cope with love after domestic violence. So he will be on chatting with us since domestic violence awareness is this month as well. That'll be the topic for next week. So join next week with the Love Doctor. Him and Jada will have the reins next week, because I will be out. But you guys will, I'll be checking in the audience like you guys next week. But it should be a great show. So we'll see them next week on that. But I will talk to you guys later. Again, thank you, ladies. And you guys have a blessed week.
All right.
Thank you.
Bye.